Let's start with acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land in which this podcast is being filmed. I would like to pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. A big welcome to the Hope Podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this little journey that I'm starting and settle in. Hey, welcome back to Hope Podcast. Hope you guys had an amazing week. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for all the words of encouragement and beautiful messages that I got about last week's episode, which was my little introduction into this podcast. And I think I touched on values, my story a bit. And so if you want to check that out, definitely go and listen to last week's episode. Today I want to touch on a few things. First of all, I'm currently in Gadigal in Sydney. I am here for some work and I'm staying with my sister, which is just an absolute blessing. And I keep having these little moments of just being so grateful for... It's crazy, hey, how life can really, and the direction of your life can go one way and you can really think like, how is this my life? And I'm just feeling really blessed to, one, have the incredible family that I have around me and friends, but two, to also be pursuing the things that I really want to achieve and being really active in that. I always think about little 13, 12-year-old me who... I definitely say I am still introverted, let's not get it twisted. But she was someone who, especially growing up here in Australia, was quite confused a lot of the time. And she was someone who didn't really know her place, which I guess all kids kind of go through in adolescence. But yeah, growing up in the Redlands was definitely not easy. And yeah, I'm just feeling super grateful that it feels like, yes, despite the world being really heavy right now and a lot of things going on, I constantly have to remind myself of the incredible things that are happening in the world as well. And I always just think about that little baby Gabs out there with her chemically straightened hair and just, vibing out, calling herself an Oreo, all those types of things. I'm just, proud for her as well. But yeah, as I said, I'm in Sydney and I am enjoying my time here. I definitely wouldn't live here. It's funny, I was saying to my sister, of course you're such a Sydney gal and I'm such a Melbourne gal. It just makes sense. Like, we spent our entire childhoods obviously living together, and you don't really plan where you're going to move and when you're going to move and all that sort of thing. But I actually moved out in like August last year. She moved to Gadigal here in Sydney in like June last year. So we kind of had similar time frames. And now this is just our lives, which is really cool. It's really cool. And yeah, something else I really want to touch on is this thing that I feel like I've just come out of. So this is my way of encouraging anyone who's kind of in this mindset. I feel like I'm someone who can easily get, especially when I'm stressed, anxious, when there's a lot of things happening that are out of my control, I can very quickly get into this scarcity mindset and this way of thinking that, one, doesn't help me, two, doesn't help my loved ones or the people around me, and three, is just like really, really quite out of body. And it's something that is hard when you're in the moment and you're in that fear, anxiety, stress to recognize, but through things like taking care of your body, journaling, meditating, exercising, healthy habits, it's the only rest. Oh my God, rest is the only real way I've been able to come out of it. And honestly, limiting things like stimulants like caffeine, and I think I touched on a little bit. I was really nervous to talk about it. But basically, last week I kind of said that I was struggling with this addiction that I've just overcome, and that addiction was to vaping, of course. I know I'm not alone in having to go through that, and it's something that is just so easy to pick up. I think I still remember the first time I bought one. It would have been like 2021 or 2020, just right in COVID, and all of a sudden everyone was just vaping. And I remember getting really frustrated with myself once I'd graduated from drama school and being like, this is just like ruining my voice. It doesn't make me feel good. I didn't even really smoke that much before. Why am I just addicted to this stupid, horribly flavored thing? And it was really, really frustrating. I ended up quitting and starting this little journey of looking after myself. And then I went through a breakup. So, of course, the first thing I did was band-aid, and start vaping again. And it took me a long time to honestly quit properly again. And addictions are something that I think in my younger years, like when I was freshly 18, all that sort of stuff, I wasn't really thinking about it in the moment of like, how's this going to affect me later? I was someone who very much was obviously wanting to escape things, but wasn't conscious of the fact that that's why I was doing it, which no one really is, obviously. But yeah, addictions are something that have been a theme of my early 20s, and the impacts not only on myself, but I've seen people I really love go through addictions and grapple with it, and it's everywhere. It's not just when it comes to substances. It can be so many different things, and yeah, the damage that it does and the toll that it takes on people, and how much it can fracture you and make you really, really treat yourself horribly. Yeah, it's the biggest thing that I've learned. And now that I've stopped, I've really started truly, truly thinking well of myself. And I knew that was the weird thing. Once I'd quit, that I would start valuing myself again. But for whatever reason, when I was doing it, I just couldn't stop in the moment. Yeah, but I'm really proud that I've been able to overcome it, and obviously everything is a work in progress, and this is not me shaming anyone or telling anyone that they need to stop and whatever. Your story is your story, this is just mine. But the ability it's given me to be a lot more present with myself in ways that I haven't in years, and to be more present with the people around me, as well as I feel like it's unlocked my creativity again, which is so funny because I feel like a lot of creatives or a lot of people sometimes lean towards substances, alcohol, weed, other things to like get more creative. But I found for me, like now that I stopped, it was almost like that was like the drug, or that was like the thing that was making me feel more embodied. I don't know, which is really cool, and I'm really happy about it. I am also really, really grateful that I feel like I've been able to restore my confidence, not only in myself, but also in my ability to, again, be present with people around me. And that's partly why I started this podcast as well, is because I truly, truly want to have many people on here. I feel like my next episode, my sister is definitely going to be on, which is going to be fun. And you'll get to see a completely different side to me as well in the way that we talk and carry on. But yeah, that's the really cool thing about people, hey, is how different. I used to think sometimes that like that thing of acting different with different people or bringing out different sides of your personality meant that you weren't being genuine or you weren't being sincere or whatever. But that's simply just not the case. And you can have an authentic reaction or experience with someone and then have a completely different one with someone else. I had this weird thing that I felt like I had to mimic the same version of myself with heaps of different people when I didn't necessarily in the moment feel that way. And that used to be so exhausting, especially with what I do for work and sometimes going to events and having to talk to people and getting really overwhelmed, and obviously how easy it is in a social situation as well to, if you're surrounded by alcohol or by vapes or whatever, to just like lean on that as a crutch. And honestly, especially leaning into the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be very interested to see how I go being in those environments where I'm not doing that and I can actually be present with people and have a conversation. Yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to it. But also it's going to be weird and it's going to be strange. I feel like I also want to touch on a bit more about, I'm going to really, really try and hold myself accountable. I want to get super, super ripped, like super shredded for absolutely no reason other than to feel strong, which I know I am mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm a very strong person. But I want to feel so in my body and so like I can literally run a marathon if I wanted to, which I'm really, really excited about. I am starting a little Pilates journey, reformer Pilates journey over the next month. I'm going to be visiting a really, really awesome place called Club AMPM, and I'm going to be going there quite a bit. I'm so excited about it. Like, I just want to get really, like, strengthen my body as much as I can. I don't know why, but there's something about turning 23 that I feel like when I was 22, 21, I was like, yeah, I'm in my early 20s, so, like, whatever, who cares? And still, even when you're 23, who really cares? Let's be real. But I've always been someone who's a bit of an old soul and has, like, everyone always assumes I'm a lot older than I actually am. And when they're having a conversation with me, they're like, that's very mature of you to think that way or whatever. And I'm like, well, it's literally just the way my brain works. I can't really control how it's functioning. That's just the way I think. So maybe that's why I just think really introspectively about myself. I'm also conscious of how much time we as humans just spend thinking about our damn selves. Like, I'm sitting here listening to myself and I'm going, all you've done this whole podcast is literally just talk about yourself and whatever. But yeah, you guys are still getting to know me, so eventually I want to start having like more deeper conversations and talk about themes. And I did have a couple of things I put on my Instagram for you guys to leave any themes or questions or to talk about, and one of them was motivation. And I think that's something that's really, really interesting. Recently, I've been thinking a lot. Obviously, we know how much algorithms, AI, social media, everything is really, really just accelerated. But I was having this zoom out moment where I was like, damn, like imagine being like a young person. I'm talking like teenager right now, or even with vaping, but young person growing up and not knowing life before TikTok or Instagram. Like that's just normal for them, which is very, very strange for my brain. But also that's the rate in which everything is going so quickly. Like even I think of it in terms of I'm starting a small business, and all the work that's gone in creating that business, and how much I did some training for it, and the encouragement of using like AI, and how it's not really going anywhere. It's not like we can just say, oh, whatever, which I think for a long time, especially with TikTok, I kind of had this mentality of, oh, whatever, who cares, whatever, which you can obviously do, be off the grid. But at the same time, it is actually quite a useful tool in a lot of ways if you know how to manage it and how to use it when you're in a good frame of mind. It's just really, really dangerous in a lot of ways because people aren't always in the right frame of mind to be able to use these tools and use them to the best of their ability. But anyway, back to motivation. I feel like I'm a person who can be very self-motivated, but I also, it's that saying of you are the people around you, right? You can kind of get your motivation from the people who are surrounding you, and when they aren't motivating you as well, that's when you can start to feel really, really stuck, which is why I think it's part of why as well, when I've mentioned how I've grown up moving a lot, I'm someone who can't necessarily sit still. I don't think I'm someone who will really stay in the same house for a long, long, long period of time, just because I've never really had that. And I'm always into exploring a new location or going somewhere else or adding something. In saying that, the move to Nam really did shift something in me in terms of creating a home and kind of nesting and forming something, which I've never experienced before, which I really like as well. I really, really like that aspect. But I think in terms of motivation, it's something that is tricky when you're trying to find it. But I also find it's like in the small things of practicing gratitude is a big thing for me that helps motivate me. Or I guess it comes down to your what you value as well, which is why I kind of wanted to start there. But in your values, you can really find your motivation. For me, now that I know that those are my big five, I kind of have this structure, really big picture of what's going to make me happy and what's not. My dad and my parents have always kind of raised me and my sister to have this mentality of really always pouring into something creative, which is interesting that we went, yep, that's where we're going to make careers out of. Also always having our academics and our brains being in tune and curious, and then always having something physical to kind of outwardly release, whether it's exercise. We used to play sport growing up, and I feel like sometimes just going back to basics is such an oversight for a lot of people, and you kind of have to hear it from someone to really remember, oh, yep, yeah, of course, yeah, take the vitamins, yep, exercise, yep, sleep, yep, of course, yeah, basic hierarchy of needs, yeah. But it's very easy to forget, especially when you're just going through the pace of life and, you know, going through day to day. But yeah, I think whenever I'm struggling, going back to basics is always a really, really good thing, and figuring out what your healthy mid or medium or routine can be, especially if it's not something you've grown up with and it's something that you have to find for yourself. I feel like when I was younger, I used to always feel like the black sheep of the family, and I was like so different to everyone. And I used to always ask my parents, was I adopted? Like, what's going on? Why do I feel so different to the rest of you? You all don't seem like you're very emotional, first of all. And the types of things that I'm into, you're not into. Like, I feel like through adolescence, it's something that all teenagers, whatever, go through. But it's something that when you kind of have that chip on your shoulder mentality, something I've really started to notice in people as a whole is it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy when you reach so many obstacles, and you might reach them early in your life when you're still at home, or you didn't have a stable upbringing, or all these obstacles that we kind of encounter, and how some people are afforded tools to be able to overcome them, and some people really aren't. And then the judgment and the kind of, it makes me really mad, but the mentality that comes out of people as a result of what's been handed to them, and it's completely out of your control. But that's why I think I try to live my life with as much kindness and love and support and good energy that I can pour into it, because it just makes me honestly not want to be here if I don't live any other way. Yeah, that's like kind of what I want to touch on today. I am planning on continuing to pour into myself in terms of educating myself. I'm really in this like money place of I didn't care about money, which is really bad, especially if you're going through a creative career and you have to learn very quickly how important it is to manage your money. So I've really started to educate myself and learn more about money, and seeing it as a tool instead of something to stress me out. So maybe I'll talk on that in my next episode a bit more. But I hope you guys are having a incredible day and you're safe, and this has brought a little bit of light into your lives. I cannot wait to have my sister on and chat some nonsense and probably just be silly and laugh. Or maybe we'll get deep. We'll see what happens. But enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning, and I will tune in with you guys next time.